The actual summit will begin at 6, but right now we're going to start with a pre-summit workshop on creating a sustainability plan. And we've asked the two main people that prepared our plan for the city of Satellite Beach, Dr. Lindeman, Ken Lindeman from FIT, and Zachary Eggles, who's a student at FIT. They were the primary authors of the sustainability plan that we have today. And we've asked them to kind of walk through what they did in preparing our plan. Our plan is very user-friendly. We love it. It's something that we use every day. We don't buy anything until we make sure that we're not, doing something against the plan. It's actually pretty short and really to the point. So we wanted to give you guys a kind of a sample of how that works for us, how they put it together, what they thought of when they were doing it. So I'm going to turn it directly over to them. They I think planned on a 45-minute presentation, and we want between now and the 6 o'clock, we want to give you guys time to go get something to eat. We have food back in the kitchen for you for dinner. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and hand it off.
Welcome. Thank you for putting valuable time in at the end of a long day for many. We are all living in a world of PowerPoints, and thank you. We're going to try to do this quickly in terms of the PowerPoint part of this. Let me introduce Zach Eichholz, who is a grad student in our department and the Department of Interdisciplinary Studies at Florida Tech.
Hi everybody, my name's Zach. I've been working with the city now for about 2 years. And like he said, I go to FIT. I'm a second-year master's student there. My major is interdisciplinary sciences. My undergraduate major was a BS in sustainability studies. I was one of the first to graduate from FIT with that degree, so that was very cool. Thank you. I actually came into FIT trying to be a meteorologist, but I saw the opportunity to be a sustainability major as being more fulfilling, and just the job market was there, and I think it's really cool to try and want to save the world. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to learn how to save the world.
I think you'll find there's an interesting contrast between our styles. And we're going to save the world, and we're going to do it by using some system science and some interdisciplinarity. I just used that word. There's a word that exists, it's in the literature. A lot of new words and ideas are emerging outside of just social media, in the real world of science and empiricism and measurement. The reason a lot of us were science or engineers. There are real data. It's not just the source, it's the credibility. So we use a lot of science, and we use a lot of community outreach. So we're going to quickly go through this, and as I was starting to say, we want to get through the slides quickly, and we want to try to get as interactive as we can. So we're going to go quickly through these slides. Pushing the button I was instructed. Push the other way. There we go, there's a delay. Okay. Look, sustainability is a big word. It's a fuzzy word. It's an ambitious word. Justice, freedom, they're not that different from sustainability, okay? But there are anchors you can grab to understand what this word and what it implies mean. The most classic is the definition from the Brundtland Report. You can look this up on the web. It's an elegant definition. Many of you might know it. But you can boil it down to equity between generations. That's a tough concept. Do we have equity within generations? Across society? So, there's a lot in this, and so to go further, we've developed a couple of definitions that may work a little better operationally for city staff in the real world, county staff, state, business people. A measurement-based approach to identify best practices and indicators to optimally manage social, natural, and economic assets. The phrase measurement-based is important. You'll see that what we did was very structured towards being able to measure things. There's an old saying in project management, you can't brag about what you can't measure. We also suggest that we keep our focus a little bit on these very difficult things, externalities. The expenses off the books, often social, often environmental. Okay. There's a concept called externalities. It's becoming more common in College of Businesses around the country. It's finally surfacing. It's okay to talk about this now. In some places. And we're going to refer to the three capitals. Usually you see a three-Venn diagram where they're all happy and looking at you. Well, they're actually interdependent. You can't have the you can't have the inner economic capital if you don't have the social, the human capital. How many elected officials really know this? You can't, or how many know that you can't have the social without the environmental? Okay. There are many roles of sustainability programs. The slides will be available. I can get anybody this paper, but this isn't just arm waving anymore. Okay, people are doing this all over the world, all over the country, all over the state now. A little exercise was done where I examined the presence of sustainability boards, which is a major theme of this event, across all of East Florida. I'm a coastal scientist, and so I'm really interested in coastal areas. And so, really quick, some people have some interest in some of this information. There are 13 counties between Monroe County and the Keys and Nassau County, which is the Georgia border at St. Mary's River, a beautiful place. There's 3 to 35 municipalities approximately per county. And so what we identified was, with a lot of work, is that among approximately 148 cities across all of the coastal municipalities, or most of them, among the 13 counties of East Florida, we tallied boards related to environmental, beautification, sustainability, energy. It's not perfect. It would take a lot of, additional follow-up to make it perfect, but we're pretty close. We identified sustainability boards as boards that had, let's say it, a climate and renewable energy focus, in addition to the trees. Okay? And the tree boards are essential. The tree boards are huge. We can grow them into climate and tree boards, maybe, if you're not. So we discriminated between all the environmental boards, God bless them all, and then that subset that we could identify as being sustainability boards in terms of having a climate or renewable energy component. We identified 90 cities of the 148 without any kind of board we could identify as being environmental or sustainability or energy driven. We identified 23 cities with sustainability or environmental boards that had climate components. And then we identified 35 other cities with related boards, often beautification or tree boards. As it says there. Within Brevard, we had 6 cities with sustainability or related boards or committees. Depending on how you define this, it might be 7 now. There's some very exciting things happening around the county, depending on how you view it. We identified 8 cities with related boards or committees. We identified 3 cities without any sustainability or environmental or beautification board. How does this look compared to the larger numbers I'm going to pull out in a minute, and we're going to drill down further, but we thought it would be very useful to offer like a landscape view. Brevard, percentage-wise, is ahead of every county I've surveyed in East Florida. Percentages vary because of what the absolute is. Miami, Dade County, they've got like over 30 cities. They've got a lot of environmental boards, but how many are doing renewable energy and climate adaptation? They take it seriously in Southeast Florida, believe me. Those familiar with the climate change compact process will know that. Folks, so 4 counties have put their seal. We got political pushback, we understand, but there's space to maneuver. 4 counties have put their seals. It's on the web. You go to the South Florida Regional Climate Change Compact, and I think there's over 30 cities now. They've got resolutions or ordinances. They're in. Miami-Dade now has an Office of Resilience, which is almost synonymous with sustainability. They're doing things from buying electric vehicles more to doing some advanced climate adaptation, potentially. There's things like the 100 Resilient Cities program. You look up 100 RC. It's a model for someday tens of thousands of cities. What's really exciting to see training young people for careers in this is the number of jobs occurring with the word sustainability in the title. Just that slide sort of speaks for itself. It's all within the last 12 months, I believe. And that's only a slice. That's not comprehensive. That's just local slice. And with that, you have a macro and meso scale, and we're going to move on with Zach talking to you about the plan we developed.
Sure. Thank you. So, what this slide, oh, yeah, that would be important. This slide goes over the formation. Oh, no. Saving the world's hearts, guys. Oh, got it. Okay, the opposite. All right. So yeah, this committee or the Sustainability Board in Satellite Beach. Satellite Beach has had a rich history related to the environment for as long as the city's been founded, I think. I'm not fully aware of all the history behind the board. If you want to ask questions, I think Courtney's the right person to do that for maybe after this. But I know it was branched off, or it started as the Ad Hoc Green Committee in 2015 and was formalized into a Sustainability Board in 2016. It currently has 7 members, and as I understand it, it has a waiting list, which is really cool. And what the board allowed the city to do was to hyper-focus on what it wanted to do sustainability-wise and give its citizens basically, a form of empowerment where they could come to the city council and talk about issues, raise concerns, and fight for doing environmental things across the city and maybe even outside the city. The city did some smart things related to the board. They focused on trackable tasks. They gave the board a small budget, and as you'll see, I'll go over some of the accomplishments of the board later, but the board was able to do things even before the sustainability plan became a part of the city's governance, which is really cool, which was based on some of that budget. And like I said earlier, it really just allowed people to have a voice. There was a board member that's now a council woman, which is really cool. So people are going to up and through government and making themselves represented, which is awesome. Yeah. So after the board was created, the city needed to do some other things to really broaden its scope of sustainability and change how things are done across the board. So with that, an assessment report was needed. It was determined to be needed, and actually an intern before me named Jessica, and I don't know if she's here. Jessica, if you're here, raise your hand. No, okay.
Jessica Ward sent an email, she can't make it. She developed that initial assessment report. She sends her regards.
Yeah, so what I'm about to show you is what Jessica and Dr. Lindemann did. The assessment report was created to really allow the city to understand what it needed to improve in first. In terms of sustainability and resiliency. And just to go over a little bit of context, sustainability plans are a very popular thing right now. They're being added to many city governments. The list on the left is the current cities that we were able to identify at the time of writing our plan. And then the column on the right shows the counties, and this figure shows that as well. The counties labeled in green are counties that have sustainability plans for county-wide initiatives, which is really cool. So this list, that's 19 cities right there. Satellite Beach would be 20. The list has probably grown since then. This is 2 years old, so that's great. Plan history. The assessment report was started in early 2016 with the formation of the formal sustainability board. Jessica and Dr. Lindemann were contacted to do that. And then by September 2016, the report was finished, and then I was brought on to make the plan that would be informed from the assessment report's findings. In October 2016, the plan really began with city staff, myself, and the board members. By March of 2017, the plan had been drafted and released for public comment, and then by May of 2017, it was adopted by the city council. So all in all, the process took about 2 years, which is really cool. So the assessment report right here, this is just a little clipping from it. What it did was it identified, like I said earlier, areas that the city could better itself in terms of sustainability and environmental resiliency. And it identified 5 categories to do that: built environment, land and water systems, energy and transportation, community outreach, and quality of life. And with each of those, there were 33 subcategories identifying 121 indicators. These indicators, as you'll see, became the empirical backdrop, really the keystone on which the plan would be formulated. Those are the categories again. And the categories, you know, they were able to be all-encompassing. I think it covers all of basic society's needs. They provide a logical, citizen-driven structure of indicators and measurements that really ensure quality control and can act as checkpoints to see if the city is actually doing things and meeting its sustainability goals, because you can talk a lot, but whether you're doing it or not is a different story. We don't want to greenwash anything here. This pie chart shows the high priority indicators that were identified, of which there were 88 of those 121 that were seen as being high priority, low-hanging fruit, something the city could tackle first. And just the pie chart breaks it down into which ones fit into which category: 22 from quality of life, 28 from built environment, 32 from energy and transportation, which is the most, community outreach had 17, and land and water had 22. So the Sustainability Action Plan, once the assessment report was finished, began to be drafted with the basic goal of creating a user-friendly sustainability action plan that sets meaningful and measurable targets for the city to follow to lead by example into the 21st century. You know, we're not here saying this is how exactly your plan has to be if you want to write a plan, but this is what worked for Satellite Beach. And that's what the assessment report really allowed us to do. It really allowed us to target Satellite and maybe have some unique things that other cities necessarily won't. Very adaptable action plan. And speaking of action, the word action is in the title, Sustainability Action Plan. And I think it's really important that if you do a plan, the name action is in it. Because to me that signifies that you are trying to do something, you are trying to make change. So it's just a thing that maybe to consider if you want to write one of these. So this screenshot right here shows the actual indicator matrix that can be found in the appendix of the plan. This is 10 pages long, so that's really cool. And it has a whole wealth of information that could be pulled from. Like I said earlier, there's 121 indicators in 33 subcategories in 5 total categories. I hope this is a laser, yes. So the category column is here, subcategories, indicators, and then over here, which I think Dr. Lindman will talk about more, it gives you some of the metrics for which the indicators were based off of to see whether or not they were a high priority, not a high priority, and stuff like that.
So what I've found in dealing with cities recently is that they're very interested in this appendix. It was a product of the assessment report with Jessica Morris and then a product of the final with Zach and I. It went through a lot of review. There are 5 categories: built environment, land and water, okay, energy and transportation, quality of life, community outreach. There's a total of 121 indicators within those categories within 33 subcategories. Question: if your city does this, is it going to be the same way? Better not. We aren't prescribing anything, okay? I'm emphasizing to every city we talk to, you don't have to use this model, okay? We developed it. It has been working well. One of the things that people seem to like about it, could you circle the top of the importance, ease and cost, and priority? Here, I'll go ahead and take that. That's all right, thank you. We ended up putting a priority on every single one of these. Still doing it. Of every single one of these. We started out and we put a priority on it. We went through city staff, we went through the sustainability board. Okay, we got a lot of input. And then we thought, maybe priority has 2 components. Remember that? Maybe priority is an index, an average of the importance and the ease. And do they line up? Sometimes low is high, sometimes high is low. You guys know if you're doing this, you're dealing with this all the time. So we felt more comfortable with the priorities we identified, because we talked this through in great detail, FYI. We encourage you to look at the appendix of the plan, which is on the Satellite Beach website, or in the plan itself, of course. And maybe that'll help a little bit. Wanted to emphasize here that a lot of cities, well, some cities we've talked to, aren't willing to maybe build plants. We aren't saying anyone needs to build a plant. We've been doing this for almost 4 decades in coastal cities. The cities drive it. The city right next to us can have a completely different vision. We suggest. We're just laying out some examples of things you can do.
So from 88 indicators, high priority indicators is a lot. That's a lot to try and tackle all at once. So we needed a way to break that down into something more tangible, something that the city could identify more in the short term. And from that, we identified the green achievement targets, which took 20 of those 88 high priority near-term indicators to work on first. The GATs, as they've been come to be called, are going to be implemented in 5-year intervals. Should they be not implemented, they will spill over into another 5-year interval and try and be finished. I have the business card of the plan right here. I like to call this a business card. It has all 20 of them on it. I'll leave it over there if you want to look at it later. I won't go into them in detail, but these are what the city intends to tackle first. And they allow the city to lead by example. This just shows there are 6 GATs related to the built environment, 6 in the land and water systems, 4 from energy and transportation, community outreach has 3, and quality of life has 1. And just to show you kind of the process by which we identified a GAT, this is an example of one. You see the matrix here for electric vehicle charging stations across the city. The indicator is the number of charging stations within city limits, charging stations every square mile, and kilowatt hours used. It was seen as important, it was high, and its priority was high, but its ease and cost were low. So that is something that the city could tackle first, and as of January 2018, the city now has 3 EV charging stations at municipal sites, of which it only had 1 before the plan started, the 2 of which are right up there. This is just some of the accomplishments that the city has done, both pre and post plan. SAP means it was something found in the Sustainability Action Plan. If it doesn't have anything before it, after it, that was something that the board did before the plan was started. Styrofoam ban, ordinance for city limits, completion of the Logos Community Garden, EV charging stations, 6 bat houses across the city. I have some pictures here. That's the new community garden over at DeSoto. That's the new EV charging stations outside this building. And there's one of the 6 back houses. This is also outside this building. Just some more accomplishments. Climate Ambassador Program, Property Assessed Clean Energy Participation, Lagoon Friendly Lawn Contractor Program, Planning Sustainability Board Conferences. And then Pelican Beach Park Solar Canopy Rendering. This is something that the city will hopefully be doing by the end of the spring, which is awesome. Oh, how'd he get in there? That's the city's new electric vehicle, the Chevy Volt. So beginning of the electrification of the city's fleet. And then, Dr. Lemon, you want to take this back? So basically, I think, writing this plan, it was very inspiring and it was very eye-opening. Seeing how many cities are doing this, the Meet the Mayors for 100 clean energy thing is something that has really been exploding over the last 2 years. I think, and seeing what come from Satellite Beach's sustainability, and seeing all these cities just come up with these boards and really trying to make change around the area is something so cool and inspiring to see. I hope it really continues. And with that, I think we will. Yes, special thanks to everybody that has been involved. There were so many people involved with this. It wasn't just Dr. Lindeman and I. All the board members, all the city staff, the interns before me. Really, I think they just nailed it. I think it was super cool, and it's something I'll never forget being a part of. So I thank them for that. And with that, are there any questions or ideas? Let's have a conversation. Yes.
So Brevard does not have a sustainability plan?
No.
Right now?
Not of right now, no.
So what can we do about that?
I think, Doug, you want to help me with that one? I think personally that just going to the county commissioners and saying, maybe using cities as examples, saying, look, we have all these cities doing this work and they're getting tangible results. Look at all the public participation that's happening, and then maybe turn to the counties that do have the plans and see what has come from them, asking them. I think collaboration and just talking to people is really important, something that I think we forget to do a lot nowadays. I think that could really just, help a lot. Movements like Rethink Energy Brevard, doing cool work, talking to government officials.
That's a very good question and a good answer, and the good news is that this is happening. There is much momentum. There are people here who are very deeply involved in a very interesting set of discussions going on with the county commissioners. I think that that's probably all I should say right now. But there's a lot of very interesting things happening there, and if you do interact with your county commissioner, he's heard of this idea, he or she has heard of this idea, and they are quite receptive in many cases. It's always important to talk about this in terms of what's good for America, because it is. Don't back away from that. This is being American. This is leading. This is taking care of our kids and saving money, if you do it right. So, very good question. We want to open this up. People can talk to each other. Yes, sir.
Never hurts for citizens to contact their representative and say, this is a good idea.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And city staff within the proper chains of command. Right? You can educate lateral or maybe people above you in cities, people below you. You can find that people you never would expect have great ideas. Often people who don't think they agree with sustainability. I've seen that a few times.
I was curious about when counting the number of electric charging stations, did that include electric charging stations just on public property, or was that on private property as well?
That's a good point. It was just for public property. The plan, I forgot to emphasize this, the plan actually makes it puts no policy or restrictions on city residents. It was everything that the municipality itself wanted to do. All of this could be seen from a resident perspective as guidelines or recommendations, never something that you had to follow. The city wanted to lead by example in that sense.
For example, in Titusville, we have a couple car dealerships that have electric charging stations on them, and so I was just wondering if you had inventory any that may exist on private property.
As far as I know, no.
There's a lot of apps out there.
There's a huge thread that's opened up by that question, right, that we often miss is that we need businesses. Points don't tip. We don't really bring greenhouse gas emissions down, which we really need to do. Go to NASA Climate. There's a website, NASA Climate. It's NASA. And that's not going to work for you alone. And then you'll see that, and we can do it by getting the business folks involved. So ideally, perhaps down the road, Professor Barker, in organizing these events, maybe in an event down the road, it could be even more. I know you're all about getting the businesses involved, but we encourage you. Car dealers. Can you imagine if you can green one lot?
Real quick to that point too, with businesses, one of the green achievement targets is to partner with a local business to put a solar array. So we have yet to find that business. Anybody? Any other questions? Yes.
Was there any other cities that had plans that just blew your socks off? You said, man, this is a good plan. What other cities would you recommend for us to look at?
We looked at so many. I can't, honestly, one doesn't stick out at me right now. I remember just, I think it was Marathon, actually, had a really good one. But a lot of them, we didn't want to make it so that it was, you wanted to read it. You wanted to be able to see it, be super user-friendly, something that could be referenced very quickly. Some plans, I'm not putting any plans down, of course, but some plans are very big, they're very technical. An engineer should read them, not a normal citizen. And we didn't want that for this plan. So we took what we could from other plans, the good and the bad, and I think we made something good, but we really just wanted to make sure something was user-friendly. And a lot of plans erred on the side of not being, so that's something we just wanted to make sure in ours.
Yeah, how much I know there's a Star Communities, how much was your plan, and do you recommend that for other municipalities using that model?
Do you want
Yeah, it's funny. There's eco-certification programs now. Buildings are LEED certified. If you go to Costa Rica and stay in the Green Lodge, you might be Global 21 certified. We have the opportunity now to achieve that for communities. The program is called STAR, singular. The reason I emphasize that is that people who do university sustainability, we sweat blood over a certification program called STARS, which FIT just achieved after 5 years. We're one of top 20% in the country. Sorry. So STAR, my understanding is Palm Bay achieved that. Yeah, that's very important. I don't know other cities in the area. I'm sure there are. Okay. When we talked about STAR early in this process, and a lot of what we're doing, I think will make us very competitive for a STAR rating if we want to apply. But we haven't applied yet. Great question. Eco-certification, the Lagoon Friendly Lawn Program of KDB could be a very powerful eco-certification tool. We teach in the systems classes. I'm not going to ask you to give me the opposite of supply side, but there's demand side. For the economists and business people, demand side management. Change the market. Use rules and regulations on the supply side, old school, but new school, and change the market. Change the market, reward good behavior with incentive programs such as STAR or LEAD or the Lagoon Friendly Lawn Program. Push behavior from different directions. Conservative good Americans like that. The demand side, market-based approaches. Yes?
Could one of you explain, I know I've been going around a lot of the communities that are either started or trying to start sustainable cities, and once they get to that point, kind of get in the weeds on a lot of issues and things. Is there, I know a lot of the discussion is low-hanging fruit to kind of get started. Can you kind of walk through, long-term, short-term, maybe get some wins under your belt really quick to kind of get the community support so you can attack the bigger, tougher things?
Yeah, you need to get some easy wins early. It just sprays WD-40 into these hard-to-turn gears at first. You just see the lift. And the city was, we didn't sell out doing that. We went after some big things. And it's incredible, some of the things that may indeed occur soon, as well as some things that already have. So, remember when I showed the matrix slide from the appendix where I had, to get to our priority ranking, we had to balance ease of task achievement versus importance of task achievement. And so, everyone, if you think of it both ways at once, you get more comfortable with what you prioritize. So I suggest put in some home runs, but put in some singles and doubles. And
I was going to say too, I think a low-hanging fruit that a lot of people overlook, in my opinion, is just the basic education of what sustainability is. Because I've run up to a lot of resistance to the idea of what sustainability is, and resiliency, and what it entails, even at Florida Tech. The student population. But I think something that could really push sustainability forward in a community is just founding a board or some like-minded type board to just add the elements of the ear, to have the ear of the city government and to give a place that is kind of safe for residents to come and talk about these issues and educate people. Invite public speakers, invite companies, invite scientists. Wow, imagine that, listening to a scientist. I think that's a really good start.
I just wanted to add on to that, because our green committee started out with this action plan, and there was about 5 low-hanging fruits, you could say. One of those low-hanging fruits was actually creating a long-term plan, which is what we originally started with. The other ones were things like bat houses. You know, putting in bat houses and having there's I can't remember her name. She comes out and does. She has a bat. Yeah, Sherry. She has a bat, and the kids love that. We advertise it on Facebook. We had a bunch of parents there with their kids. They learned all about how bats eat mosquitoes, and they think about their environment that way. They came out and put in the bat house. We had a little ribbon cutting. You know, so those things are community involvement pieces that, you know, that involve children, which is great. It's always good to do things with kids, and it gets both the kids and the parents out. And then also we had the electric car charging station, which is so incredibly easy to do. I can't tell you how John Fergus did it all on his own. Where's John? One of our board members. He literally did that entire project on his own. And so those things are actually a lot easier than people realize. And so those are things that some of your board members can do right away to get the discussion started and to feel like they're accomplishing things, because that's important for your board members to feel, you know. I also wanted to make sure that you all know as staff members and board members, we gave you a thumb drive. If you haven't gotten one, please get one on your way out. And that includes all of our plans that we've done. The first action plan, the sustainability plan, the assessment report. It includes all of the other cities' plans that you were talking about. You know, so you see a bunch of other plans from other cities, not just ours. We included the PACE agreements that we'll talk about that later. Interlocal agreements, the bid that we used for our solar that we're getting ready to put on City Hall. All of those documents are in there so that you don't have to recreate the wheel. We're hoping that we do this annually and that the next city does the same thing for us. So we add to these thumb drives of things that we can all share so we don't all have to redo everything every year. You know? I'm going to go ahead and do some housekeeping. Are you guys done? Because we got 15 minutes. Yes, go ahead.
I just have one question regarding that information. Is that available to anyone outside of that?
Oh, sure. I just wanted board members and staff members to get that first, but if there's any left over, please. And then we have a lot of the stuff on our website. If there's anything that you would like to see, just call us or email too. We have, this is a facility that's getting ready to get renovated, so these bathrooms are not ADA accessible, so if you need that, there are bathrooms across the hallway and City Hall are open. So please feel free to use those too, plus these are full. We had a lot more people than we expected, which is awesome. So we had to actually go get more food. So if we run out, trust me, more's coming. But I want to give you guys time to get something to eat. We have water pitchers there instead of the thing that was too hard to push. It had glasses, because we don't use plastic in the city of Satellite Beach anymore. So please feel free to take 15 minutes, get food, and then we're going to reconvene at 6 o'clock and start the rest of the program. Thanks.